partner. So today in this webinar, we'll be discussing about the prospect and constraints of online education and online teaching and learning process. First, let me introduce myself. I'm Sony Pandey, architect and urban planner, and I'm currently working as a head at Department of Architecture at Cosmos. And as we are all aware of the COVID-19 pandemic, with more than 31 million people infected and about a million deaths worldwide. So due to COVID-19, many educational institutions have already opted out to new approaches in teaching and learning to cope up with this adverse situation. And as we all know, internet and technology has been used in communication and collaboration worldwide with the conduction of online classes. To discuss on this topic further, more detailedly, we have Dr. Anir Upadhyay as our main speaker. Dr. Upadhyay is an architect and urban planner. He has a Ph.D. degree in sustainable design from the Faculty of Architecture, Design and Planning from the University of Sydney. And currently he is working as a lecturer at University of New South Wales, Sydney, Australia. And Dr. Upadhyay has been conducting this blended learning method for the last few years. We are very glad to have you, sir. So to start this webinar, I would like to request Dr. Pawan Bhattarai, principal of this college, to address few words on behalf of the college on the topic and welcome our speaker. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Suri ma'am. Distinguished guest, Dr. Anir Upadhyay, academic director, advisors, HODs, representative from different engineering colleges, faculties, and students. Very good morning to you all, and welcome to the webinar organized by Cosmos College. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome the presenter of today's webinar, Dr. Anir Upadhyay, straight from University of New South Wales, Australia. Cosmos College is proud to be associated with Dr. Upadhyay. As you know, COVID-19 has resulted in schools and colleges shut all across the globe. As a result, education has changed dramatically with the distinct rise of e-learning, where the teaching is undertaken remotely and on digital platform. With the sudden shift away from the classroom in many parts of the globe, some are still wondering whether the adoption of online learning will continue to persist post-pandemic and how such a shift would impact the education in Nepal. I believe that the integration of information technology in education will be further accelerated and that online education will eventually become an integral component of education in Nepal in near future. In this scenario and backdrop, today we are going to listen about the prospect and constraint of the online teaching from one of the experienced guests, Dr. Upadhyay, and I believe there will be interesting presentations and Q&A sessions. Without delaying much, once again, I'd like to thank you all the participants for today's webinar, and I assure the Cosmos College will organize such an event in near future also. At the last, I would like to thank you, Nepal Research and Education Network, for the technical support for today's webinar. Thank you very much for today's webinar, and I would like to listen to the presenter's view because today is his day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to request Dr. Upadhyay to share his experience on designing online contents and delivering them digitally.
Thank you everyone. It's a really great pleasure for me to be here and sharing my experience with you. As most of you know, like I did my most of the degrees from Nepal, and I'm always connected in various means, still connected with academia over there. So it's really good to share this kind of thing. So this is what I really see the brighter side of. You have to really look at the good things with this pandemic as well, and this is something I think is really good to connect in this way, because we all are in different place and still connected, still sharing our knowledge, which is, I think, is really good. We need to take slightly positive note here. Okay, so let's. I've made. Can I get access to share my screen so that because I've just put notes. It's not really PowerPoint kind of presentation, but I just put notes so that everyone will be, yep, thank you. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sure. So which one you see, the full screen or this
No,
presenter version? Okay,
presenter
so
version.
maybe I'll just stop this one and go to the another one. Yep. So maybe you can see the full screen now. Is it coming?
Not
Okay,
yet.
I haven't
No,
shared yet.
now it's coming. Yes,
Okay,
Pawan.
sure. All right. So, so today's, I just wanted to make it a little bit of informal in a way. It's not really lots of details in the slides, but I'll explain the way I understood it, and I'll also give you an example towards the end. One of the module that one of the course that I'm teaching, which I'll show you the way I do here in University of New South Wales. So Sony already introduced me. I'm Anir Upadhyay, uh, uh, working here in Australia for around like 15 years. And I do research, I teach. But one thing I just need to say in the beginning, I'm not education developer. I'm not expert in this area. So I'm just trying my best to learn and teach my students in this way. Uh, so I'm also learning all the new stuff that's coming in. Uh, so the first of all, what we need to understand is what exactly this online learning. Actually, the online learning is one of the component of distance learning, and instructor and learners are physically separated, so they will be in different places, and where learners can study appropriately designed materials at a place, time, and pace of their own choosing. So some of the things I highlighted here, the first is physically separated. That's what it really means, the distance learning, because there should be some kind of distance, not like in the classroom where we call face-to-face teaching. And second one is appropriately designed materials. So the materials that we use in face-to-face may not be appropriate sometimes. That's what we need to understand. And the third is we need to give opportunity for them to choose the place, time, and pace. That's very important. Otherwise, it becomes a bit frustrating when we do most of the stuff in uh, synchronous mode, which we call like in real time, the way we doing now. The teaching can be problematic if we go in that way, because for example, I'm in a different place, so the course that I teach now, many people are in different part of the world. And so if I start some of the classes in the morning, so that maybe in other part of the world that would be night or early morning. So that is something becomes a bit challenging. So that's what we just need to understand. So it may not be that is the issue in the context of Nepal, because we have only one time zone, but that can be context, that can be issue in different contexts. Like for example, when we get lots of international students here, that can be a problem. So, but that is something. These are some of the keywords we just need to understand when we say distance learning. And so what are the approaches, how we deliver these distance learning programs? Pretty much the first is synchronous, I just touched upon, at the same time for all. So pretty much like the webinar, real time or real-time lectures through audio, video, or web conferencing. So nowadays, because of the online approach with the internet, it is pretty much like audio, video together, and web conferencing that happens together. But pre this internet thing, people used to record their lectures and they'll send out to the students, or notes sent out to the students. They received it from post and they will go through it. So that was the approach. And so that's called asynchronous. So when you record it and you send to someone, or when you record it on your own time and you put it in a place where student will come and student will access those resources, that's called that approach is called asynchronous. So at their own time. So the developer or the teacher would develop contents on their own time, and then they will put it in there and the students will access on their own time. So there are different ways, like recorded audio, video contents, online discussion forums. So someone is posting questions, and if I'm teaching, I'll look at it on my own time and I'll answer it. Similarly, blogs, messaging, or email. So these are the ways we can do asynchronous. But the most popular one is the hybrid. What we'll do, we'll put some of the content in asynchronous mode in a repository, and the student will access it. Whereas sometimes we will meet on a certain time, and so we'll be at the same time and we'll do live discussions. And so that's called hybrid or blended learning. And the course that I've been teaching here was designed in a blended learning format, and that was pre-COVID. So that was the kind of approach our university was taking before this pandemic. And that a bit kind of like that gives a bit of confidence, like like what are the content would work, what are the content would not work, and that's really a good learning process. So these are the fundamentals, and I'll just quickly discuss like what are the benefits. Like there are some benefits. So the flexible learning is something is highly regarded. Pretty much when you have to do few things in your life, that flexibility gives lots of not be really happening in the context of Nepal, because pretty much like in the bachelor level, we all are full-time students, and we don't really need to work. But in the first world, once you are entering to the university, pretty much you are working as well to support yourself. And in that situation, this flexibility gives a lot of it comes with the good aspects, and you enjoy it because you really want to do that course, but because of the commuting and all this, you can't do. But now it's possible. Wherever you are, doesn't matter, you can do that. So it's a location neutral. And when it's a location neutral, that means we don't need to be physically present in that place. We can be anywhere, the way we conducting this webinar. So this is location neutral. Anyone can join in if they have time at this moment. And if this thing is recorded and put it in, so anyone can look at it whenever they want to, based on their timing. Like if someone is teaching now, they can come back and they can go through this content when they have time. So this is the flexible learning approach. And the second is one of the benefit is development of quality contents, because the previous or traditional approach of teaching learning was through most of the time through reading someone's write-up. So that was the approach. So that's why we got our textbooks, and mostly that's what, that's it, because you just need to read it. But now things have changed. So the experiment, someone is doing experiment, but you can just, and they will record it, they will put it in there. So you can go and you can look at it. So you have that opportunity to learn from different ways. So using multimedia, animation, video, or embedded freely available contents. That's how you can enrich your learning materials or teaching materials. And that gives a lot of, it's a very powerful. And sometimes, like, for example, someone developed something and he or she would have explained it in their own word, uh, in some kind of like forum. Why not we can just take it and play that to our students rather than you understanding and relating in your way. Sometimes we lose lots of content in between in the translation. So that's where it gives a lot of opportunity using technology, and that's what I'm doing in my courses. What I would do, I look for the contents, and if someone is giving TED talk in a very good speaker with a lot of experience, I'll just take that in from YouTube and put that in, embed in my lecture. I'll acknowledge it, okay, because I've taken from someone. Okay, let's watch. And in that way, students will get a lot of information very quickly and very clearly from those people. So that's another opportunity, and it really helps to the students. Like we have seen many students who are who learn very quickly with the visual stuff, and some students learn equally just reading it through on their own time. So in this way, what we could do, we could bridge that gap. So maybe we can have really good outcome through this approach. And third is scalability. So it doesn't matter like teaching 20 students or 200 students, because it's the way you deliver is it is really up to the students to how they can access it. As a teacher, you don't have any constraint, whereas in face-to-face, the building size or the room size will guide how many students you can fit in. So that is one of the really great benefit. So for example, in a bachelor degree, everyone is doing, in the first year, everyone is doing maths. So there will be, say, like 200 students. But with one teacher, you can deliver the content, and then you can have few other teachers to help them out in tutorial later. Whereas uh, if you can't accommodate 200 people in a room, even if it's really hard to teach in face-to-face environment for 200 students in a room. So that's where this is really useful. And fourth one is affordable in long run, not really in the immediate kind of like scenario. If you look at 1 or 2 years, maybe not. But if you look at long run, that gives a lot of like cost benefit to the organization. So, but that's what we really need to think when we are really embarking on this area. We need to understand whether we should stop like when everything goes normal, or we should go with this kind of thing in 1 or 2 of 10 different courses that we offer, like, so that's what needs to be very needs to think at the very early stage. And so these are the benefits. And some of the constraints that I would like to highlight is lack of immediate feedback is something I felt in asynchronous delivery mode. What happens, okay, you heard or you watch a video of a lecture, and then as a teacher or as an instructor, you don't know whether it's working or not, because you want to see that facial expression which you can see in the class. So when you explain something and say, oh, I got it kind of thing, you can't really see because you are just talking in front of a computer the way I'm doing now. And but I can't see everyone's face. So that's where you would not really get feedback immediately. And same with the students, because they can't ask questions when they are listening. They didn't get it. They can't ask question at that time. So that is one of the constraints. And second is cost and time. Uh, it becomes costly in the beginning. While developing quality online contents, it becomes very time consuming because you're looking at lots of content. I just developed a new course last year, and it took almost double the amount of time that I used to teach face to face, because it's a really because it's the one thing what we need to understand is uh, the one that we deliver in face to face, it would not work. All the content like would not really go into the online straight away. That's what we need to understand. And so you need to come up with a new approach, and need to design new activities to engage students, because they would not have that long time span being in front of computer and going through the lecture. So that's where it becomes a bit costly and time consuming in the beginning. But if you run that for a few years, then you do slight changes, but it becomes very effective. And the other thing is the scalability. So we need to really think of that scale. And third is the constraint is technology dependent. So that's something is a bit tricky. Uh, and instructor and students may find it difficult to master technological requirement sometimes, because all new things, we have to do certain things, and then we need to learn new software, or you need to learn new these applications. And if for some reason that technology is not working well, it gives a bit of trouble. So that's where we are. In face-to-face, what happens, we can sense it, we can change it immediately, but when technology in between, we can't really do that straight away. It takes some time. So that is something, or for example, like the internet is unstable this time. Some of you may not hear. If something wrong with my end, none of you get anything. So that is really challenging. And the other thing is the regular support required from technical staff, because it's not like on your own. You need some kind of support. Some of the things we don't know, so we need to ask someone how to do it. And so you might need some kind of help. So that's at the organizational level. You need to have someone who would help people to understand the issues, if that issues comes, how to rectify, and those kind of things. So they need to have some kind of support. And the other thing is instructor teacher needs to respond to students' queries more frequently. So if you are teaching weekly, if you wait for a week to respond someone's query, uh, that's not really good. The way I do the courses that I teach, and most of the time they communicate through email, I'll reply immediately. So in that case, what happens, whatever the queries they have, they know, like if I ask, I'll get reply. Uh, you don't need to really wait for a day, at least the way we say, okay, yeah, we'll get back to you within 24 hours. But I try to do very quickly, so that there'll be no more confusion. And that's what they really regard. So the teacher or instructor has to develop that habit, and otherwise it would not really work well, because there's a gap, and we need to fill that gap very quickly. Okay, so these are some of the constraints, and we talk about the opportunities. And then it comes to the responsibility of students. So students have some, because we are trying to do new things, so students need to understand what exactly how it would work. So the first and foremost is self-organization. So uh, it's not like coming to the class regularly and someone is taking attendance and you are there and all the, so that is not going to happen. So you have to organize yourself. So you have to plan your day in a way, okay, I have to do all these things, and being in one place, and some people can sit in chair for maybe 5 hours. Some people can't sit for 10 minutes because that's how they are. But it's something, a new type of delivery or new approach requires you to organize yourself. And the other thing is appropriate workspace. That's very important. So, and this has become very challenging everywhere in the world. So before, house or home used to be after work, and you would have fun with your family and do lots of other stuff. But now, during the day, it's office, and sometimes it get extended. And once kids will come, they will say, okay, they come back from school, and now that's in our side, because kids are still going to the school. But in Nepal, maybe that's not the situation. So kids are also at home. So how can you work in that atmosphere? And so that's from the teacher side. And from the student side, again, the same thing, because lots of people at one place, and everyone is doing a different kind of thing at home. So that becomes very challenging. So they need to organize somehow how to create an environment where they can read, or they can do some activities. So that's where that asynchronous mode kind help, because someone can do something early in the morning or late at night, because things are slightly favorable for them. So that's something can be useful. So this is something happening everywhere. So that's why we have to have so everything, the house is 24/7 kind of thing at the moment. Otherwise, previously it was just like, okay, home activities, but now you do everything at home. And third is competency in using technology is something they need to master. Otherwise, they very small thing, for example, uh, how to change your color of something would give you a lot of trouble if you don't know. But if you know, it is much easier to do those things. So you need to develop that skill. So it's not only the content, you need to work around the technology or the medium as well. And most important is this internet reliability and appropriate bandwidth. That's what you need to have if you really would like to go to the online kind of environment. If you don't have reliable internet, then you would not really get it properly. If you miss 2 or 3 minutes, and then after that you don't know what's happening here, like maybe you'd have really gone to the next stage, which is related with the previous, and you miss that. And the latency is causing a bit a lot of trouble in this online. Like we are not getting real-time feedback, and then we say, okay, I don't know, like whether you hear that word, that what I just said. And so that kind of thing becomes very, very troublesome, and it's happening everywhere. Even if that happens here, where we call, okay, we have a really reliable internet, but sometimes that happens everywhere. So that is also students have should make sure these things are sorted out, they have it, and then only we can come to the quality content. So these are the basics. And similarly, there's a responsibility of instructor or teachers as well. So develop appropriate content for online teaching is very, very important. So because that's how we deliver content, and that's where we need to understand. If you used to teach some of the course 2 hour in face-to-face, simply you can't do that in online. So that's what we were told, and then we tried breaking that into small parts uh, with our student. And when we usually will get feedback in every term, and the feedback was, okay, yeah, it's working, because it's small, they can really go through whenever they got time. So that is something I learned from that approach. So you need to know like how to develop those contents, and also again like appropriate workspace that you need because you are working from home, uh, and we need to sort out that as well. And again, competency in using technology. So it's not only the content, we need to understand how can we present that content using some technology. uh, and sometimes we haven't really exposed to that kind of thing in our early stage. We struggle, uh, being in mid 40s and 50s. That's the trouble, because the technology changes very quickly. But if I ask my son to, oh, how to do this, and say, oh, you don't know, this is so simple, and they just do just like this. And so that's the kind of thing we need to learn, and that's where we have to work around all these technology stuff. And again, the internet reliability and appropriate bandwidth is also responsibility for the teachers as well. If they don't have it, they can't really, and that's a really problem when you do synchronous teaching. Uh, if that happens, everyone is stuck because they don't know what's going on. And after 10 minutes, no one will be there. Everyone disappeared. And then you can't really reach to them. So that's a kind of like trouble. And yeah, and as I mentioned before, as a teacher, we need to really make sure we respond to students' queries as soon as possible. So uh, so it's not like I'm there in a weekly basis, so I'll answer your any questions next week. That kind of thing would not work, because you can't really wait for a week to get very small kind of questions sometimes that is really bugging them. So be quick. And also again, it depends upon like how tech savvy you are, or how comfortable you are to replying emails and all this. So it's a new communication approach. And way to use different mediums, like sometimes you just need to record a small video to explain them what do you really mean, because they didn't get it. And sometimes email, just explaining, okay, look at this particular book or this chapter or this page where it has explained well. That really helps them. And sometimes audio, like you just talk, what's this is what I think, you can explain in your way. So maybe that would help. So you need to use different, because sometimes when you uh, uh, give verbal feedback, you don't need to write. That could be quicker. And uh, so you just need to understand which method would work better. And so there are some responsibility for organizations as well, because they need to make sure this thing will go as intended. So need to provide training support to instructors and students, because otherwise it would not really successful. If everyone is not getting benefit, then it's a headache for everyone, because it's a failed kind of attempt. So to make that a success, we just need to have those components embedded somewhere. So that will help everyone who require that kind of support. And so instructors should be able to access resources. So for example, equipment, say computer, like if you are doing some kind of animation or high really large videos, it would not work from your own home computer. Simply it would not. The way I was recording my video, I need to go literally to the lab, because it has got a very high performance computer. Do there, because it's audio visual content, and then scale it down. But before you do it, because they will have different layers, so it's a completely different kind of approach to develop a really good content. Software packages or sometimes online platforms, sometimes you can't really upload that to a repository, because it's a huge file, 4 GB or 10 GB file. It takes ages if you start doing it from your home. So these are the things organization has to really make sure they support teachers and students, and need to consider long-term strategy. If you are really doing online, you need to have a bit of broad vision what will happen if this pandemic will around for many years. So we need to spend in such a way the resources so that you will get benefit. For example, if something goes normal, would you wind back? So maybe some of the things, maybe the design studios in architecture would wind back, but some of the lecture-based content or the courses, maybe you can just do it. Maybe you can see benefit there, like doing in that way, because you will be using less physical space in the college, or maybe you are trying to uh, deliver in very different ways. So a student will just come college for 2 days, and rest of the time they can work from wherever they are. And again, the same thing, like the flexible working arrangements. So for teachers as well, so you can't really think of like 9 to 5 kind of mentality, because you'll be responding to the students in different times as well, because to help them to make sure they're getting what they needs to get. And so that's where the flexible working arrangements are important. And most important is need to value student appreciation feedback. If some of the teachers are working really hard, and because that means need to put more time, so you need to be really value that, because that really helps them to understand, like I'm putting more time, so organization is really keen to support me in that way, because that's where the result, and that's where the student will really appreciate the work that you have done. And so coming towards the end of the overview, I can see the brighter side of online teaching and learning is the global collaboration. So this kind of collaboration wouldn't have happened until this kind of thing just came in, because it was not really considered at that stage, but now we are forced to. And both teachers and students will get some benefit, and also the organizations, they can really share resources with other institutions. And so this approach will actually help students to have that independent learning skill, and that really helps them. So here they call like lifelong learning. So lifelong learning is something you don't really do it just for marks or grades or degree. You just take that as an approach. And so if you really do this online stuff in a very structured way, you can do a lot of courses, like from around the world, and you can have that independent learning skill. Doing that, you'll build it. You know how to manage your time, you know how to do it, you know how to work around it. And the familiarization with technology is something will happen, because otherwise it won't work. And then you will develop variety of communication skills. So all of a sudden now the assignment is not only the written assignment. Maybe you can do something, you can record it, and you can send to your teacher. So that could be one of the assignment. And so you develop all these skill while doing it. So that's where I can clearly see this would really contribute to enhance their education as well as lifelong skills. So these are the overview. If any questions, I can respond now before coming to the next one, where I'll present one of the course that I developed just to share how I did it and how it is structured. So if any questions, I'm happy to answer up to this stage.
Currently, we have a single question, sir. I think it's related somehow to your earlier presentation. For how long have you been practicing such online teaching there, and how effective is it from learner's point of view? Is there any study in this regard? So this is a single questions that we have got till now.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good questions. That second one, actually, the first one is general. I designed my first online content in 2017. And I was not really keen to do that, but I was forced to. Initially, I thought, wow, what university is trying to do, like with these contents. So it looks like they really would like to expand the number, and then maybe what I developed, they will just kind of would like to repeat it, like again and again. So that was my initial kind of reaction. And then I started to work with education developers, um, which is a kind of like where universities spend a lot of money to get people who would develop contents. Sometimes it feels like what exactly they're doing, like, because we are the one who develop contents. And one of them told me, you know what, you don't know how to teach. You guys are content expert. You don't know how to teach. Really? Yeah, because the way you explain it, you explain to your peers. You don't know how to explain to those students who are just starting or forming their some kind of idea. And that was a bit disturbing in the beginning, but then I realized he was right. Actually, he was very right, because sometimes the way, because you know something, but the teaching is something different. Knowing or understanding or securing high marks in the exam is different thing, but teaching is completely different thing. So someone would have that capability, someone would not. And being a really good researcher or being a really good academic in certain area would not mean you are a good teacher. So to be a good teacher, you just need to understand a different approach, a bit of, like the student psychology, like what are the things would work, how you convey the same information in a different way. You need to have a different approach. And so that was really confronting, and I did it, and I did it in a different way. So they were the one they first told me. I didn't know about, like, you can't really put the same content that you do face to face in online. And I was a bit surprised, but actually when I started developing that, I realized, yes, it would not work. Because just imagine, unless it is a movie, you can't grab anyone in a seat for 3 hours. No way. And like how much money they put in to grab you to the in your seat for 3 hours. You can't imagine. So we are not that kind of actor or actress. So we are talking really dumb things sometimes. And so what you have to do, you have to really make it very short and sharp. No more than 10 minutes. If you are talking, no more than 10 minutes. So in 10 minutes, you need to give them something and then pause. And then you can do another 10 minutes. But you can do 10 of them, that's fine. But do not do a one short thing for more than 10 or maximum 15 minutes. Because that is something I learned from that experience. So that's why when also that when I come to the next one, and so that was my experience, and I've been teaching since then. So I designed that course, and I received really good feedback from the students. That's how our effectiveness is measured. So how many students are passed is something, but how students value your work is something they will measure us. They won't ask any questions in between, but if you do not get really good score, then they will start looking at, okay, what is the students' feedback? Why they don't like the way you teach or you have delivered. So, and I received really good feedback, and that really gave me a bit of confidence. Oh, okay, looks like this is working. Then I realized, okay, looks like this is another approach. Yeah, that's all from me. Any more questions?
There are a few questions, but I think this all should be addressed after your second session.
Okay,
I
all
think.
right. Okay, so let's go to this next one. So this is one of my course link. I'll show you the course that I have done. I may need to re-share. Just a moment. Can you see this? The new
Yes, sir.
screen?
Building
Okay.
ecology.
Yeah. All right. So this is the course that I developed the first time, and so this is how our course platform look like, because uh, whenever you enroll and you are diverted to the courses, so this is how I see. Student will see slightly different of the same thing. Uh, so I only see my one course or two courses, whatever I teach, but I need to go in different place. But for students, they will see all in their list. So their interface to the platform would be slightly different. And so so the course banner, and then they also designed this course banner for me while developing this course, and they also designed for each module different course banners. So you can see here environmental context and challenges. This is one of the topic in one of the weeks, and if you go to the second one, you will see different course banner. So building ecology and life cycle thinking. And if you go to the third one, then ecologically responsive design and building. So that's how they do it. So they will try to make it very attractive. And one of the feedback that I got from the students was, wow, looks like you did a really good research in how to design this Moodle page. Then I have to say, okay, that's not me. That's someone else helped me to do it, but they really like it, the way it is presented. So what happens from the top, so once they come here, they will see everything. So who is teaching, email if they want to contact, and then what are the things it comes in the side sidebar. And so they will find, so this is something we have to put all the time. The feedback matters. So we need to tell students your feedback is very important, and what are the feedback the previous student gave and how I changed it. So we have to put that in every year. So we need to incorporate students' feedback. Students are really God here. We need to really respect them to the extent we need to make them happy all the time. So they are our customers. That that was the university say. They are our customers. We need to make them happy, uh, and uh, and then they will get course outline. So course outline will explain everything. It's pretty much like syllabus, but in detail with all the schedules, what we'll be doing in each week, and what are the assignments, how we assess it, what are the marks, and everything. Well, if you have a really good course outline, there will be very less dispute at the end. It's pretty much like a game. And I always tell them, okay, so this is our rule, and we need to play within this rule. And uh, once you tell them in the beginning, then that's fine. There won't be any problem. And so if I need to send everyone, I can go here like in an announcement, and I can create one, and everyone will get that email from here. So I have made lots of announcements. So once I put it, everyone will get that from university email. So in one of the courses, I have 100 students, so I don't really need to go and put 100 students email. So I can do it from there. And then they will have more course information here. So they will find everything, and timetable, assessments. So this is very important for them. This is the first thing they will check. What are the evaluation brief, what are the assignments, and how I would mark. And they will submit here. So it's in one place. So they don't send me via email. They will submit here. here. And to check plagiarism, that's called Turnitin. So if someone has plagiarized, the software will detect. And if the similarity is really high, they will be warned, or sometimes they have to really appear to a committee. Why did they do that? You should not be plagiarizing. So that will, the software will check. And also assessment. So other type of assessment, you don't really need to check it. You can just put it in there. So this is one of the method of. And then yeah, one of the welcome video. So the welcome video is about like 7-8 minutes, and in that video I'll just welcome them. I'll just explain them what is this course, because I'm getting students from different disciplines. So even if this is offered in masters in sustainable built environment, I'm getting lots of students who are doing masters in architecture. And there are few students coming from different disciplines, someone coming from business, I don't know like why, but they will come. And so that's what I need to tell them. Okay, this is the broad thing I would like to really discuss. And then coming to one of the module, this is something I really would like to explain. So this is module is pretty much like 1 week content. And so 3 things. Watch this. So this is delivered in blended learning mode. So in this week, they have to watch these 3 videos, and each video I have given like how long it is. So 9 minutes, 29 seconds. So that means if you got 10 minutes spare, you can watch it wherever you are, even if waiting for the bus or in train or wherever. And so you can watch this lecture content. And the second one is about like changing climatic conditions and built environment is 6 minutes 54 seconds. And third one is strategies to minimize climate change impact in built environment sector is 8 minutes 12 seconds. So altogether, if you sum them up, it's less than 14, 9, 23, 24 minutes. But 24 minutes, to get the concept of 24 minutes, you need to work another few hours, because these are the really broad aspect which would give them a little bit of direction. And so they will watch this and they'll understand, okay, yeah, now I know what the lecturer is talking about. And then do this is, now they have to do on their own time. They have to read this paper. So this is a book chapter, Biophilic Design, the Theory, Science, and Practice of Breathing Buildings to Life. So they will read this, and then once they read it, it will take about half an hour, 45 minutes, and then they will attempt quiz. The quiz would not mark in such, but they can attempt 100 times if they want to. That means uh, as many times as they want, but they would get all answer correct in one go, and they will get marks for that. So this is more about checking them whether they read the content, they understood properly. And again, the second one, life cycle assessment in the built environment. So this is another book chapter, and they will do the same. And the third one is, the activity is write a 300-word response to the statement below and review the submission from your peers. So because this is master's level course, so we need to help students to develop that skill and write. So you watched content, you read something, now you are reflecting and on how can built environment professionals contribute in climate change impacts, and in 300 words. So it's all about, okay, you can say, okay, maybe they can design better, whatever, but they have to write that in 300 words. And once they write it, they will submit, and there's a system which would really send them out their peers to review, and they will get about a week time to submit back again, and that review will go to that students, because everyone has gone through the same thing, so they would know something about this topic. They have written it, so now they will review it. So this is how it goes, and then student will put their reflections here in student forum. So they will talk about some kind of issues, or someone will answer it. So it becomes a like discussion kind of like platform. So this is how the course is organized. So actually, if that was the course would have delivered in face-to-face traditional mode, like 2 hours lecture and 2 hours tutorial, 4 hours. So here they will spend almost like 4 hours doing all these things, but it has done slightly differently. And so you might say, okay, the content that you developed is like only 24 minutes, but like to developing this 24-minute content, it would take about a day at least. So it takes a lot of, but once I did it, so this is the 17, 18, 19. So this is the third time I delivered. Next year I need to change something, because otherwise it's not really good, because need to change, need to upgrade. And so it can go for 2 or 3 years easily, because it would not change that much. But you just need to change something or update something. You can put them in extra material, and then you can put new materials there. So this is how it is, and this is how I have done all of them. And so same format. For example, in this week, they will write about importance of ecology and life cycle consideration while selecting building materials, because they have done these things, and they have read. They can reflect. So this is a really good medium, and the feedback that I have got from this particular course is, yes, it takes a lot of time, and sometimes students complain, oh, it's very, very time consuming. Then 6 credit course, it is assumed that student would spend 150 hours. And I always tell them, really, you spending 2 days in a week for this course. That's not, because they haven't really spent that much of time. So that is expectation from the course. So if you argue in that way, because that's where the rule is, students should spend 150 hours doing this course for 10 weeks. We have terms, so 3 terms in a year. So that's how it goes, and very positive feedback. And the students are doing. You can see from their assignments, they have gone through the content, they understood it, they are reflecting, and the feedback they gave us is, okay, this is something I learned something from this course. So yeah, this is what I really wanted to say. So I'll stop here, and any further questions I'm happy to answer.
Yes, thank you, sir. Firstly, I would like to request all the participants, if you have any queries or questions, or maybe an idea to discuss about using this platform, I would request you to write it down in the question and answer section or at the chat as well. So, sir, we've got a few questions here. Okay, I would. So, what is your opinion regarding recording of whole class and sharing to future review? What would be implication of intimate conversations that would be recorded? So, this is a question, sir, for you.
So, recording of the lecture itself. Sorry, can you just clarify? Is it just a lecture, just recording the way you teach, or?
I think the question wants to know about the implications of conversations that we have during our class, and if we record and provide to the students, and what kind of implications it could bring. So
okay, so it's a really being in face-to-face and being in a digital platform is completely different. Like I'm wearing this because if I use some other type of microphone, it may not be that clear. So it has to be very close, and if some kind of noise going in the house, it would not really pick up, because it's a very directional microphone. So when you do the same thing in the class, the people who are talking from the back, even the question, you would not really record pretty well. And when you give answer, the whoever is listening would not really get what was the answer in the first place. So those kind of things are not really good. And what you would really like is you just need to capture their attention when they are really in really alert mode. After 5 minutes, they are not even physically there. They are not really there. Maybe they start using their mobile phone or they're looking something else. So that there comes the technological kind of like the quality which it ensures through technology.
Sir, I will explain more about this question.
Sure.
We have a problem with internet for all our students. So some might be, so there may be power outage or maybe data problem, and they will miss some of the content. So what we were planning is to record our online classes, and we will make the recording available to students, and they can review when they are with the internet. So that is the basic idea. But however, while we are conducting the class, there will be the sort of communications that we actually don't want to record. Yeah, so some conversation went to different levels. So, but when we recording as a whole, all things will be recorded. So, what would be the indication or how we can manage them? So, if you have some idea.
Okay, that's what we do as well. So in the one that I didn't show that, but when I invite someone as a guest lecturer, or when I conduct face-to-face session, yeah, someone would miss because, and it's not mandatory. Everyone needs to attend the class. That's the beauty here. If you don't want, you're happy to work on your own. Perfectly fine. And so in that situation, to allow them to understand what happened in the class or during that face-to-face session, we record it and we put it in. So there are two ways. I got your point. So some of the things are irrelevant, and how can you get rid of that content? What you can do, if possible, because those files you can edit it later on. If you think some of the things needs to go, should not really distributed, you can do video. If it's a video, you can do video editing. If it's the audio, you can do audio editing. You can chop that part and delete it. So again, it really you need some kind of support for that, because someone has to do it. Someone has to really go through all of them and chop them, like whenever required. So we do those kind of things as well. But here we always tell them this will be recorded and this will be put it in. So most of the time they would turn their microphone off while they are just listening, and then when they will ask question, they want, at that time they will turn on their microphone, or they will just put it in chat box. So I haven't really experienced those kind of situation, but you can that can happen. So maybe you just need to edit before you uploading it.
Thank you, sir. I think Pawan sir also has a query.
Yes. Thank you, Anir sir, for your impressive presentations. I have two questions. One is, for example, these days, this concept of online teaching is very new to Nepal. So people, students or teachers, they compare with the physical classroom system. They're comparing to face-to-face learning with online learnings. Brings forth very significant deficiencies in online mode, such as lack of human contact, absence of opportunities for collaborative learning, teacher supervision, and the most glaring being lack of opportunities for hands-on learning in complex subjects like mathematics and these things. So one question is based upon your experience in the technical Australian students. So how they feel the coping of these shift from the physical classroom system to online system. So I like you to advise our students in Nepal about what they should have to be think about these new techniques. One question is that one, and second one is people think that the head of the school like to sit back and relax during the online mode of education. So these things are coming on, but I don't think so. So how does your advice head of school address the challenges of quality learning in the online mode? Thank you.
Thank you. That's a very, very good question. I'll try to give my reflection. Uh, Maybe it might applicable, it might not. But one thing we also felt, that's what I felt when I was asked to develop this contents in 2007, late 2017, early 2018. So I also thought, what exactly they're trying here? You know, like maybe they're just trying us to develop content, and they might repeat again and again. So maybe they're trying to save some cost, you know, like in the long run or something like that. But when this happened, and now most of the courses, like all the courses in the last term, but most of the courses, or maybe 90% of the courses in this term, are delivered online. The good thing is students' performance are, I haven't seen the courses that I got involved, are not down, but maybe enhanced. And student satisfaction is not that bad. It's really good in some area. Like in my course, it is equally good. In some of the courses, it is much better than before. So what happened, because now they got opportunity, for example, I'll give you an example. I don't know like how the situation now, but previously, particularly in summer, I'm talking about around 2000s scenario, uh, classrooms were not air conditioned, maybe not even now. You don't really have that mental stability to listen something, and you need to be there. And when you are drawing, is sweating, and your drawing paper is already wet. So is that quality environment to learn something? Maybe not, because we just did that. So that doesn't mean it doesn't have any issues. It has got lots of issues. Even if you are there physically, maybe mentally you are not there. But here, what we're trying to do, so that's why the way I emphasize the designed material for that medium is very important. So as I said, you know, like you can't really put them in a chair and have really focused kind of time for that content unless it is a movie. It has to be really good movie. So giving this way, maybe that's where they get it. The attention span of any person would be very, very short. That's what we need to know. Even if you give like 3 hours intensive learning in 3 hours, you do not have 3 hours kind of focus time. So that's why we need to have some kind of break, discussion, and things. So you have to have a variety of things, but it's not like lecture going in 3 hours. It would not really work. So the feedback from the students were very positive, but you have to work really hard to make that happen, because you are using different technological, because you are relied on technology to deliver something which you used to do very easily in face-to-face. But now something in the middle. So that's where it's a really challenge. So that's the first one. And the second one, it's a lot of pressure for the organizations to set that up properly. So that's where I put some opportunities and challenges. So the challenges are, how can we meet all these requirements? So how to uplift our IT system, how to make sure students are really getting like those the IT issues resolved very quickly, and they're getting enrolled, they're getting all the information they needed, and we are not overloading their computers as well. So we need to make sure we're giving the right content and giving them link to a little bit of, and I also put that in. It's a like different skill, and which you need it, no doubt. You need this skill if you start working on your, like some kind of firm or company, or if you want to start something. This is the new normal now. You can't avoid it. So now that's where I mean to emphasize a bit is this is something we need to embrace. There is no if and buts, but we need to make this happen. Always the change. Everyone resists change. That's a human kind of attitude. We don't really. If you are going to a shop with a kind of like a specified way, you always try to do that. But if someone said, okay, let's go from the other way, you really resist in the beginning. And once you do it, then say, oh, this is more enjoyable, pleasing, or short, or whatever. So that's the way it is. So so we are going through. It would have been good if it would have kind of come from different angle, but we are forced here, so everyone is resisting, and that's a human nature. But I think this approach is something we need to embrace anyway. I don't know if I answered that.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Another question we have is how can the how can the practical classes like design studio drafting be conducted effectively, which on the uh, apart from the traditional education system we used to have face-to-face interaction. So I was also wondering, sir, if in a university also, do you have practical classes and how do you conduct it?
Okay, so for that one, if I'll slightly focus more on the design studio, there are a few softwares which work really well. There's a software called Miro, M-I-R-O. If you really search it, so what it does, I haven't really used to a great extent, but Miro is a platform. It's a collaborative platform. Pretty much, this was developed for software developers. Like 10 different people working together, and so in design studio that can be used. So what happens if you have 100 students? You as a teacher can divide the platform in 100 different blocks, and you can assign each block to each student. So pretty much like that's the workspace, that's the infinite workspace. So you can design, you can put your other content, you can have your presentation, everything in that is just like you need to zoom out, and then you can zoom to the infinity level. So that allows, so if your student is working, and you can do freehand as well. So if you got that medium, you can do freehand, and but it has to be in a computer because it has to upload that information. So your teacher can see what you are doing, or your teacher can come and do something in your workspace. So you can see, and you can see that in real time. So there are platforms, and so those platforms has been used. And I was just involved in one of the studio. So what they did, they were given time, and they would come pretty much like in Zoom meeting or Teams meeting, and they would come and they will present their design, and then you look at it and you comment it. The only problem is sometimes teacher could do something on the paper, scribble it, or student can use pencil and then draw on it. That's where it is a slightly a bit of problem in Teams and Zoom, but in Miro, you can do that as well. So there are some things. And the other lab-based, for example, something you do chemical reactions and things like that. So that's some of them are what they did rather than physically using chemicals, they come up with a mathematical model. And they ask them to, okay, so you are putting 2 grams of a particular chemical, and then you are putting water in it, then you are heating to a certain degree, and then you will see what would happen, because they have done all these things at the back, and they're putting it here, and they will. So it's a new way of doing it. So that's what I mean, because this is something we always, our reference point is what we did in the past or what we have recently done. That's our reference point. But when you go to the next level, you need to really think slightly different. You need to be open. You need to be a bit receptive.
Okay, thank you, sir. I think this is the last question. Many of our students have access with mobile phones only, not computer, and I think for them the content shall be more audio-centric and interactive instead of text or screen dependent. Do you have any tips with regard to this?
Okay, if one thing what we need to understand is we need to understand our users. So if that is the case, so this online thing can be done in many ways. As I mentioned before, it can be audio, it can be video, it can be a mix of both, or animation without any kind of audio, like so. Or before this internet was really kind of a day-to-day thing, they used to send the whole like course material to the students. So they used to read on their own time. And at one point of time in Australia, because Australia is a very big country, and they used to have a radio channel, so to teach student. So student will tune into that particular radio channel, and the teacher would be there, and they will use that medium to teach. And so I'm just giving a little bit of background. But if we think that is the kind of like our user group, maybe we need to redesign our content in that way. So maybe we can focus more on audio type of delivery, and then maybe they will get some kind of supplement later. Or what we can tell them, like, okay, you can send email saying, okay, so this is the presentation I'll be talking, and they can have that presentation, and you can really explain it so that they can have in their hand and they can use their phone. So they can print it out, or they can, because I'm just thinking like, this is the one side doesn't really fit to all. So we need to understand our user, we need to understand our constraint. So need to design in that way.
Okay, I think this is the last question. For the long span of teaching virtually, we get impact on our laboratory and field work where practical knowledge is much needed. And so how does a university cope with it, or how do you plan to do it? This kind of question we have.
So now that is really important question, and that's what's happening. It has impacted very severely, because we used to have around 10,000 people coming in and going in a typical day. So now that is pretty much dead. And so from 10,000, maybe 1,000. So it has come down to that extent, only 10% of the people, and all the buildings are just empty. And so you have to maintain them anyway. So all these things are happening. But what they tried, because now the situation is slightly sorry, better. So what they tried, so they have reduced the number significantly, and they have managed some of the experiments. You have to be there, you have to use some of the equipment, so they will come in different batches. Before, you used to have 20 people doing one experiment, everyone was looking at it or being around. So now maybe only 5 students being there and doing it. So maybe they're doing 4 different batches. So that's how they are trying to manage it. So in the meantime, what we could do, like if this is the situation, we just go with the content which we can go with this approach, and hold to those which we can't now. Maybe we can come back to them later, which requires all these things. So in a sense, what I'm saying is, don't really, yeah, I know this is not really easy thing, but we don't, because this is not an easy situation either. So what we need to do, make us really flexible in our syllabus, like, okay, second year, second part, we need to do this thing. Maybe why not you change it a little bit here and there. So maybe we just need to try to use our time wisely with the resources that we have. And once the situation would be normal, and at that time, maybe we can do those laboratory type of thing and going out, or field measurements and things like that. So that's what I think. And those kind of things are very easy here, because the course that I teach, so if I need to do something next year, no problem, because that's the flexibility we have. But there, the strict syllabus, strict requirement would make a little bit of problem maybe.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to request Diliram sir to conclude this webinar and give a vote of thanks to our speaker.
Okay, thank you, Anir sir, for such a elaborative explanation about the online classes, merits and demerits of online classes. We hope we are really facilitated with the presentation, and it's really good for us, and personally for me as well, how to prepare, subject content, course content for particular design studio and theory subject as well. I hope we all are facilitated with this presentation. And again, thank you, Dr. Anir Upadhyay, sir, for accepting our, this request. And we hope we'll repeat. We will again request you to, for such a similar, fruitful presentation as well. And thank you again on behalf of from the Cosmos College and whole Department of Architecture as well. Thank you, Sony ma'am. Thank you, Principal sir. Thank you, Santosh sir. Thank you, all teachers and staff and students. Thank you, all of you. Thank you again, Anir sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. No, it's my pleasure to be here, and happy to collaborate whenever there is good timing, or like that kind of interesting ideas or any other type of work. So I wish all the best for this effort. It's a really hard time everywhere. So be safe, and look after yourself and families. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.